Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, for something a bit different, I'm going to be stripping down the Subaru EJ20 short block and seeing what abuse and poor maintenance this engine may have had over the course of its life. So let's take a journey into the black hole of what horrors may await me inside. Righto, first off, I'd like to apologise for not getting videos out on a weekly basis recently. This is due to the level of lockdown that Melbourne, Australia has been on for the last couple of months. It's had a really serious knock-on effect to delivery times and being able to get hold of stocks and supplies to be able to do anything on the vehicle. So obviously if I don't have the supplies to be able to make things and do things, then I can't make a video on making things and doing things. There's also the fact that I am completely fed up with doing the modifications to the vehicle to meet the Australian engineering standards. It's just they're such a pain in the arse to deal with that I've just got a bit cheesed off with it and I need a break from it. And as I enjoyed doing mechanical stuff, I thought, well, you know, why not finish off stripping down the old Subaru engine and see what troubles lie inside for me. Hopefully not too many. Now, I don't have a workshop manual for the Subaru engine. I know you can get them online pretty easily and relatively cheap. I know Alex on Legit Street Cars, he advertises a company every so often that's like about 20 bucks for one of these online things that you'll have for life. But no, I thought I'd do the right thing and just wing it and see how I go. Now, I'm sure if I come a cropper and get stuck doing something, you'll see me running from your laptop. But I'm pretty confident that I can get this apart without that. So yeah, let's crack on and see how I go. With the cylinder heads off and the oil pump and the water pump and front ancillaries all disassembled, just leaving you with the short block here. Next thing you're going to want to do to split the block is you need to get the pistons out. To be able to get the pistons out, you've got to get the wrist pins or the gudgeon pins out. So on the front here, gudgeon pins are hidden behind here and here. And then once you've got those out, then you have to align the piston to be able to take the circlip out and then be able to get the gudgeon pin out basically through the front on both of those. And then for the rear, let's spin it around, show you how to get those ones out. Okay, the plugs are a 14mm Allen key. Don't lose the sealing washers. Righto, with them out of the way, you then want to be able to rotate the engine so that you can align the wrist pin, the gudgeon pin, inside the hole. Both of them will align at the same time. So you can just whack in the crank pulley bolt and use that to rotate it. I'm going to use the flats of the oil pump drive on the crank. If you do that, make sure that whatever you use is a very snug fit on the flats, because if you use a regular open-ended spanner, it's going to end up on the points here, and that could mean it ends up rounding it over, which means problems refitting your pump when it comes to reassembly time. So just something to keep in mind. I've got a big adjustable wrench so I can make sure it's nice and tight up against the flats. So yep. And then I've already aligned it. So with it aligned, you can see in the inlaid photo that there's a circlip in there. You just need some long nose pliers. Hopefully these are long enough to be able to go in there. Now you've got two options. You can either undo the rear plugs and then poke something long and thin all the way through, be able to push or tap out the gudgeon pin from the other side, or you can use something that is small enough to go through the center of the gudgeon pin and like hook onto it to be able to like pull it out. But either way, it's got to come out through this hole. Okay. So because I have a large slide hammer, I made up a wee little tool that is able to go through the wrist pin and it just like grabs hold, and then I can like use the slide hammer to whack it out. I just use a vice grip or mole grip to attach it to the slide hammer. Works pretty well. So yeah, let's get on and get these pins out. Now the other two wrist pins are hidden behind here and here. This one's just a plug, and this one is your oil separator, and behind the oil separator is another one of the Allen key plugs. When undoing these screws, make sure you use a number 3 crosshead bit, not a number 2, because number 2 is too small and you can end up rounding it out. They don't need like too much force, it's just like that initial crack to get them undone. But yeah, using the right bit will help you. And make sure you put in pressure inwards, otherwise yeah, you will end up rounding them out. So now I just need to turn the crank around to be able to line up the pins so I can take out the circlips. That's the one. And if they're being a nuisance, because the small area where the rod and the piston aren't, it just gets like oil tarnish build up there, and just trying to break that to pull it out, you'd be surprised how tough that is to break. So go to plan B, bit of 8mm bar I've got here, and you can just move things around enough so that you can fit it through from the other side, and then give it a little love tap. Okay, so to separate the crankcase, there's going to be 5 bolts along the top here. There's going to be 3 down the side at the front, and then on this side there's going to be there's going to be 2 there, and at the back there's 1 down the bottom there. Don't forget that one, it's very similar to VW Beetle and Combi engines, everyone forgets about that one. And then on the other side there's 6, 2 here and then 4 there. I've already undone them all because I forgot to press the record button, so well done me. But hey, it's just someone undoing a load of bolts, so you know. Yeah. So next thing is going to be take off the sump, and yes, this is me messing around a couple of years ago. Made myself a shortened sump. Doesn't leak, but the mating surface isn't exactly flat, so I'm like, don't know whether to use it with the RTV or have to do something else. But anyway, come to that later. Ta-da! Isn't it pretty? Windage tray for the crank. It's normally got 6 bolts in it, I think. Yes, but there's only 2 in here at the moment. Okay, and with the sump off, there's a little 10 right there. Cool, and then it's just a case. I like using a block of wood so you don't damage things. Hardwood, pine, not so good. Okay, so to get the pistons out, it's just a simple case using something, wooden handle of a hammer or rubberized one here, something basically that's not metallic, and yeah, you just like tap it from the back and they all pop out. Righto, so overall the engine's actually in pretty good condition. Like I say, I have no idea what the mileage was on this thing when I got it. It was cheap, but it appears to have been fairly well maintained with its servicing and oil changes, because the main bearings and the rod bearings are all in very good condition. They're only very slightly worn, so they'll all be getting replaced anyway when I put it back together. And then the barrels all still have cross hatching in, so that's a good thing. I'll probably get those lightly honed, just to get the cross hatching back in there a bit better. The pistons, they're all like good. There's some very light scoring on the piston skirt on the top end of all of them. There's also oil on the top, so it looks as though the cylinder head, the valve seals have been leaking. The only one that's bit of a problem is number 2. That one has actually got a bit of scoring in the barrel, but it's so light that the hone should get rid of it, because I can't even get my fingernail in there. But I may end up having to buy new pistons, because as you can see, the scoring on the top of number 2 is actually quite bad, but because that's aluminium and the sleeves are steel, so the scoring inside the cylinder is nowhere near as bad. That's probably due to the Subaru Achilles heel, is that if you don't do your oil changes regularly, the oil control rings will gum up quite easily. And out of the 4, 3 of them, like the oil ring, it doesn't really move, but it's still at least protruding very slightly, whereas on number 2 it's completely flush. And I think that's just allowed the piston to be able to tip enough as it's going up and down the bore to end up scraping on the top end of the cylinder. So that's a bit of a shame. But like I said, if you don't change your oil regularly, then the oil control rings gum up on these things like really easily. So yeah, overall, pretty happy with that. The next thing I'll probably look at is going to be the cylinder heads, because I like messing around with mechanicals and I'm a bit of a nerd. So I'm going to see if I can make myself a DIY flow bench and do some head porting, because the 2 heads are basically the same. I can have one standard and one I can mess around with, and then I'll be able to, like, you know, see if there's a difference in flow with what I do a 3-angle valve seat, back cut the valves, do a like home port job. Yeah, just for a bit of fun, see if I can eke a bit more power out of this thing, because why not, and it's fun. Yeah, yeah, overall coasting along pretty good, so yeah, happy days. All right, if you like the video, then obviously please smash that like button, and if you know someone who would be interested in what I get up to, share it around. And if you like what I get up to on my channel, then please subscribe, and catch you on the next one.